Hey, nerdy sports fan, Week 10 NFL action. We've got the Lions paying a visit to the Bears this week. So, divisional matchups are always fun to watch. Most teams within the division come correct when they're playing their rivals. Both of these teams have underachieved, and yeah, it might be a little spicy coming into the game because of their records and the fact that it's a divisional matchup. So I expect energy to be high. I expect tempers to run hot and might even get in a few fights this game. But the talent's not there, especially on offense. Detroit's got a good quarterback. Their running back's on injured reserve. I think injured reserve. He's hurt. Kerryon Johnson is out, and that's a big blow. So the Bears are already really good against the run, and it's only going to get better because they're not facing the best competition they could be. I don't expect this game to be a good one for Stafford because, well, the Bears know how to deal with one-dimensional teams. Most defenses do. And the Bears are staffed so well for this. They have great pass rush, they have great secondary, and I don't think Matt Stafford's going to be able to go into hero mode and pull this one out against this defense. He's going to have to rely on his own defense to make some stops against the beleaguered Bears offense. Mitch Trubisky is going whiny little bitch mode and asking that everybody in Hallis Hall leaves the TVs off while he's there, just to avoid hearing about all the scrutiny he's getting from the national media and the local media. Mitch Trubisky's a tire fire. There were no fewer than 2 quarterbacks taken in the same draft that are far better than him, and he knows it. So I hope everybody in Bears country gets ready for yet another quarterback taken early in the draft. You're not going to have a high enough draft pick to get up there and do something on your own. But we've seen in the past this regime is not beyond making some trades. So maybe they should make a few to get the actual guy instead of this schmuck. And, everything will be forgiven. Okay? Well, look what Steve Keim did down in Arizona. Okay? He didn't like what he saw out of Josh Rosen. So he drafted his replacement the very next year. And nobody necessarily talks about that being terrible for the front office. Personally, I think it's quite admirable. The guy recognized that he made a mistake and went about fixing it immediately instead of just hoping that it would work out. And he probably bought himself a much longer career in the NFL because of that. So the Bears regime needs to follow suit. They need to get rid of Trubisky. He's a joke. And in spite of this being the absolute perfect team to go against and show that you're legit, I don't think Trubisky has it in him. But I do think the coaching staff might have figured out how to use their running backs. David Montgomery didn't really have many yards, but he did have a couple of scores last week. You're still getting contributions from Tarek Cohen. 2 weeks ago, Montgomery had a monster game. And I think that's where they need to be. They need to be run-oriented. I've been saying it for weeks that, seriously, Matt Nagy just needs to remember that he has running backs, and they matter in this league. I hope he doesn't go into a shell. I hope he doesn't fall back on that god-awful Mitch Trubisky passing game, and he remembers he has to really run the ball. This is the best team to do that against. They're terrible against the run. They're averaging 130 some odd yards allowed to running backs this season. It's nuts. So yeah, I think David Montgomery is a great fantasy play this week. I probably thought he should have been drafted higher. than he was actually worth this season. And that's not his fault. That's Matt Nagy's fault. But he's very talented. He can catch the ball. He's a well-rounded back. I think he needs to be more involved in the game plan. I think this is the perfect game for him. I think he's a risk play, though. This is more for, hey, you got a bye week, and if you had like Philip Lindsay or, say, Carlos Hyde that you were depending on, now's the time to put in David Montgomery, pull him off the bench, pop him in the starting position, see what he can do. Because if he's ever going to have a good game, it's going to be against this god-awful Lions run defense. The Lions are, 2.5-point dogs in this game? So Vegas thinks that the Bears don't necessarily deserve all of the home bump. You generally get 3 points just for being at home. So, the Lions are, on paper, the superior team. The Bears just match up really well against them. That's how I feel. Without Kerryon Johnson, I don't think this offense has enough juice to make up for their deficiencies on defense. And the Bears, they really just need to stop being so damn stupid with the game plan. Make it simple. Solid defense, which we know they have the staff for, and run the ball. And if they can get back to that and keep with it, they will win this game handily. The X factor is Matt Nagy wanting to go to that pass game. So I don't touch this game with my money because I have no faith in Matt Nagy at all. He was a great coordinator, maybe not a great coordinator because, he played under Andy Reid, and Andy Reid, coached under Andy Reid, and Andy Reid was the coordinator. So a lot of what he did last season might not be deserved. He had the best defensive staff, in the past 20 years. And a lot of that's been broken up. He lost his defensive coordinator, who's now a head coach. He lost a starting safety to divisional rivals in Green Bay. And that's what happens. When you have success, people kind of pick you clean in the offseason, and you have to learn from that. Matt Nagy hasn't. Okay? They haven't retooled this defense well enough, so it's not as dominant as it was last season. And the offense isn't doing him any favors by putting him out on the field all goddamn game. So the Bears are in a great position to win, but they need to get out of their own damn way. So, Bears fans, I hope you get a new quarterback in the offseason, and I hope your head coach pulls his head out of his ass by the end of the year. Lions fans, I have no faith in your coach, and your quarterback is very, very talented, but man, he hasn't won anything of any significance. So I really think the issue for the Lions is leadership. They need better defensive staff for sure. They probably need better offensive line play. But the big issue is leadership. And with the talent that they have, they should win more consistently. But, that's how the NFL works. Talent doesn't mean everything. Look at what the Patriots have done. They never really have the most talented roster, but typically they have one of the deeper ones. So you were hoping that a Patriots system coach would bring some of that mojo over, and it didn't work out. So, yeah, I think your coach is mediocre. I think your quarterback's mediocre. And not stats-wise. Fantasy football-wise, this game is fantastic. Fantasy football-wise, the Bears, you need to start David Montgomery. But from the Lions standpoint, keep garbage time in mind. Okay? Stafford's always a stat monster, so he needs to go in. Marvin Jones is really picking things up as Galladay's been tailing off. He was dealing with some injury issues. Not sure if he's going to be a full go, but even if he is, he's not playing up to the level that he would be if he was 100% healthy. So yeah, Marvin Jones is picking up the slack in a big way more recently, especially since the Kerryon Johnson injury. It just seems like he's getting more targets. So put him in there. You know, Marvin Jones is always like a borderline wide receiver 3, but with the staff currently assembled in a game where they're not really going to have much of a run game, he's going to get a lot more targets. So him and Galladay are going to have better performances this week than you would expect against a defense this solid in a game that they're likely going to lose because of garbage time. So, yep. Hit up the rest of my videos to check out what I think fantasy football-wise in the other games. And check out the Nerdy Sports Fan Weekly for our weekly power rankings.